Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, Stephanie.
And we certainly hope you're enjoying the Chinese New Year holiday. And if you still got some free time before you have to go back to work or go back to school, you might want to consider reading a novel. And today we're talking about a novel by William Faulkner entitled Light in August.
Pick it up, pick up a copy, see how well you do with it. There's a new Chinese translation out. I think it's very interesting to buy a book in English and Chinese and then compare the two, to read them both. I think that's a fun way to learn. You pick up new words, and you also see the differences sometimes in the subtleties of different languages. So I would recommend Light in August. Give it a chance. See how you do. You'll also learn a little bit about Southern culture in the United States. We have different areas of culture in the United States, depending on where you grew up. You experience life differently. He spent most of his life in Mississippi, and it's it's very Southern. His most famous book, and some of you might have heard of it, is The Sound and the Fury. But today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the plot of Light in August.
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated plot. I kind of lost track of the characters after the first paragraph, but maybe all of you will have better luck with that. So let's get going, everybody. Let's read our summary of Light in August right now. This is the first part of our lesson. Listen carefully. Lena Grove arrives in Jefferson, Mississippi, desperate to find Lucas Birch, the father of her unborn child. She quickly learns there's no one there by that name, but she does meet Byron Bunch, a morally upright man who falls in love with her. Byron recognizes Lena's description of Lucas as Joe Brown, a stranger who arrived in Jefferson not long before. Joe Brown, along with Joe Christmas, are in the lucrative business of selling illegal alcohol during Prohibition. Joe Christmas has a troubled past. Decades earlier in nearby Mottstown, a young woman named Millie gave birth to a multiracial child. Millie's father, Doc Hines, killed Millie's lover and let his daughter die in childbirth. He then dropped the child at an orphanage for white children on Christmas Day, telling his wife the baby had died. Named Joe Christmas, the child was sent to live with a strict religious couple. As a teenager, Joe Christmas killed his abusive foster father and escaped to Jefferson. Upon arriving in Jefferson, Joe Christmas encounters Joanna Burden, the daughter of abolitionists and an outcast for her progressive views on race. Their passionate relationship often turns violent, and when Joanna threatens Joe Christmas with a pistol, he kills her. Joe Brown, eager to get his hands on the reward for information about Joanna's murder, sells out his business partner, who then flees to Mottstown. Joe Christmas goes on the run for days and is eventually captured. He manages to escape, only to be murdered by a racist bounty hunter. Meanwhile, Byron tries to bring Joe Brown to Lena, but he attacks Byron and flees. Byron returns to Lena, who's given birth. A few days later, Lena is on the road again. This time, she has Byron and her baby with her.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started. We're talking about Light in August, a story of Southern strife. When you see that word strife, you get the feeling that there's some tension between people or groups and people aren't getting along. There's a lot of strife. I have to say that typically you use this word in writing, not so much in spoken English, unless you're talking with people who are very, very well educated. They probably would use the word strife. But typically, you don't hear a lot of people use this word strife. But it does mean that tension that comes along when people just are having a hard time getting along. They're fighting about something.
Indeed, they're having some kind of conflict. So let's try to summarize this story as best we can. We've got the character of Lena Grove. Okay, this is a woman. So Lena Grove arrives in Jefferson, Mississippi, desperate to find Lucas Birch. And who is Lucas Birch? Well, he's the father of her unborn child. So this is a pregnant woman, and she comes to Jefferson, Mississippi, and she's looking for the father of her unborn child. She's pregnant, but she hasn't given birth yet, but she's desperate to find him. She really needs to find him because it's very important. She's about to have a baby. She needs to have the father there. She needs his support. She needs his financial support. So she is desperate to find him.
So she had an affair or dated this guy, Lucas Birch. She got pregnant and he's gone. So she's still pregnant. She's trying to find the father of her unborn child. And she's right there in Jefferson, Mississippi. Now, she doesn't find Lucas Birch. She finds out, though, that there's no one who lives there by that name. It sounds like Lucas Birch isn't that guy's real name. He gave her a fake name. Bad man. She quickly learns that there's no one there, but she does meet a guy named Byron Bunch. And he's a morally upright man who falls in love with her. Morally just means you have principles of right and wrong in you. You have good values. You're a principled person. You try to do the right thing. If he's described as morally upright, it means he is a good guy. He tries to do the right thing. He treats women well. He falls in love with her. He sounds like a good guy. Whereas Lucas Birch is a jerk. He's not a good guy. He got her pregnant. He left her pregnant, isn't going to take care of that baby. And he gave her a fake name. That is a horrible person. I wanted to mention, though, if you look at this word upright, but it doesn't have moral in front of it at all, it just means someone standing up. Oh, he's upright. Maybe someone faints and they suddenly fall on the ground. But if you're able to get them upright, it means they're standing up again.
And if you're flying overseas, you'll often hear somebody say this, please return your tray table to the upright position because the plane is preparing to land or take off, whatever the case may be.
So it's vertical, it's not horizontal.
Yep, fold that little table up into the seat in front of you and prepare to land. So here, this is Byron Bunch. The name Bunch sounds similar to Birch. I think that's why she went looking for him, because she thought maybe it's the same person. The name's similar, but it's a different person, actually. Byron Bunch. He's morally upright. He's got values and things like that.
Good
but
guy.
hey, Lena Grove, she must have been pretty attractive, had a nice personality and stuff like that. So he falls in love with her. Wow, I'm sweet on her. I'm smitten with her. I am in love with her. And Byron recognizes Lena's description of Lucas as Joe Brown. So she says, yeah, I'm looking for this guy. He looks like this. He's maybe kind of tall. He's got this color hair and stuff like that. And so this guy, Byron Bunch, says, yeah, your description kind of sounds like Joe Brown, okay? Maybe it's the same person. Maybe he changed his name after he came to Jefferson. But he's a stranger. Joe Brown is a stranger who arrived in Jefferson not long before. So he came to this town, but nobody knew who he was. He wasn't related to anybody there, so he was a stranger. He got to Jefferson a little while ago, maybe a month or two before, and Joe Brown, along with Joe Christmas, are in the lucrative business of selling illegal alcohol during Prohibition. So Joe Brown, the stranger in town, actually has a business with some guy named Joe Christmas, and they sell illegal alcohol, and it's quite lucrative, which means it pays very well. They make a lot of money from doing this, but at the time, it was during, the 1920s, when alcohol was illegal in the United States. That period of history is called Prohibition, when alcohol was prohibited, when people could not consume alcohol. And later, of course, they got rid of that law. It was too difficult to enforce. Prohibition, again, during the 1920s, give or take a couple of years.
Yeah, that's when we had some of the stories about the gangsters, right?
Al Capone.
Al Capone. He was in the business business of selling illegal alcohol. So if they've capitalized the P on the word prohibition, they're talking about that period in American history when alcohol was illegal. Going down to the next paragraph, our friend Joe Brown, who told Lena his name was Lucas Birch, he's in business with another man named Joe. Don't get them confused. There's Joe Brown and Joe Christmas. I've never heard of anyone with the last name Christmas. I'm just going to say that. That's weird. Yeah. So they aren't good men. Joe Christmas is bad too. He has a troubled past. And we'll learn a little later that he actually has killed he kills somebody. But Joe Christmas, troubled past means he probably had a difficult time growing up. He probably came from a broken home. We'll often use that phrase, broken home. Maybe his dad or his mom has left, or one of them is, on drugs or drinking, things like that. But he didn't have a good childhood. Decades earlier, in nearby Mottstown, a young woman named Millie gave birth to a multiracial child. I think we're talking right now about Joe Christmas, so we know he's multiracial. His mother was Millie, and she gave birth to him. Multiracial, maybe black and white, maybe Latino, white. I mean, it could just be different things, multiracial. Now, Millie's father was a doctor, Doc Hines. He actually killed Millie's lover and let his own daughter die during childbirth. Having a baby is not always safe. We've lost a lot of women who have died giving birth to a baby, and that process is called childbirth. So she had a crappy father too, my goodness. He killed her lover, Millie's lover, and Millie wasn't married, and then let his own daughter die having a baby.
Oh, right. But the baby was still born. That was childbirth. Of course, that's the process of giving birth to a child. So we've got this child. Everybody else is gone here. This is the child here. And then the child was dropped off at an orphanage for white children on Christmas Day. That's probably why he's called Joe Christmas, because that's the day he was dropped off at the orphanage. An orphanage, of course, is a place where children without parents can live. Of course, there are orphanages all over the world, and a person who no longer has their parents is an orphan. Okay, so orphans live in an orphanage, and that's where Joe Christmas was. So hopefully we've got this story straight so far. I'm sort of got the characters, keeping track of them. I'm okay so far. So we'll take a sort of a little bit of a break on that. Take a little bit of a breather while we listen now to our Chinese teacher.
大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是哈利。今天我们要阅读的文章是 Unit 11文学单元的第一天课程。在今天的文章中，我们将会阅读美国知名作家 William Faulkner 的小说 Light in August， 中文翻译为八月之光。首先，我们看到课文标题有一个名词 strife， 意思是 fighting or disagreement between people or groups，也就是冲突、纠纷、不和的意思。例如 family strife 就是指家庭纠纷， political strife 就是指政治斗争。我们接着看到第一段的第一句 Lena Grove arrives in Jefferson, Mississippi, desperate to find Lucas Birch, the father of her unborn child. 丽娜·葛洛夫来到了密西西比州的杰弗森郡，渴望找到他未出世孩子的父亲卢卡斯伯区。本句的主要句子是 Lena Grove arrives in Jefferson, Mississippi。 从 desperate 开始的句子是省略 being B-E-I-N-G 而来的分词构句。当分词构句的结构是 being 加形容词时，可以省略 being， 只留下形容词。可依照句意放在主要子句的前面或后面。例如，原来的两个句子是 John was eager to know the result of the exam. He couldn't concentrate in class. 约翰急着想知道考试的结果，他在课堂上无法专心。两句主词都是 John， 省略第一句的主词后 was 变成 being 又可省略，只留下形容词 eager， 所以就变成Eager to know the result of the exam, John couldn't concentrate in class. 文章的第二段提到 Joe Christmas 艰辛的过去。我们看到第二段第4句的后半部分 Telling his wife the baby had died。 本句的 telling 是省略主词后的分词构句。原来的句子是 He told his wife the baby had died。 told 后面是省略 that 的名词子句，用过去完成式 had 加 VPP。 过去完成式通常用于过去持续一段时间的动作或经验，但没有持续到现在。例如 Everything had gone smoothly until an unexpected accident happened。 每件事都进行得很顺利，直到一个预料之外的意外发生。过去完成式也可以用来表示比过去某件事更早发生的事情。例如课文的例句 The baby had died 的发生时间就比 He told his wife 还早。用来表示比过去更早发生的事情，常搭配 by the time 的句型，也就是 by the time 加主词1加过去式动词逗号主词2加 had 加 VPP， 表示到了什么时候或在什么之前某事就已经发生了。例如 By the time the tourists arrived at the airport, their plane had taken off。 在这些旅客抵达机场之前，他们的飞机就已经起飞了。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We're in our literature unit, and we're focusing today on the plot in the novel Light in August by William Faulkner. It's a story of Southern strife. We met some of the characters. We've got more characters to introduce, so hold on to your hat, right? This is going crazy. We've got Lena Grove. She comes to Mississippi, pregnant, looking for the father of her unborn child. She learns that this Lucas Birch that was the person she, thought was the father of her child, he doesn't exist. He's not in the town. But she does meet a really nice guy, Byron Bunch. He wants to marry her. He loves her. He's a good guy. But Byron listens to the description of this Lucas Birch and goes, that sounds like the guy I know named Joe Brown. Joe Brown's still in the city, though. In fact, he's gone into business with another man named Joe Christmas. We find out that they're in the illegal business of selling alcohol during Prohibition. They're bad. So Joe Christmas, he had a troubled past too. So he was born decades earlier in a town. His mom was named Millie. She was pregnant. Her father was angry that she was pregnant, so he killed Millie's lover and then let his own daughter die while she was having her baby. He then took that baby, who is a mix of black and white, a multiracial child, and dropped him off at an orphanage on Christmas.
And somehow he grew up and went into business with Joe Brown, and together they are selling illegal alcohol during Prohibition again in the 1920s in the United States. So we talked about Joe Christmas's troubled past, and he grew up in an orphanage, etc., etc. So named Joe Christmas, the child was sent to live with a strict religious couple. So he's an orphan, and so he had foster parents, not his real parents, but these people are taking the role of his parents since he's an orphan. But they were very religious. I assume it's the Christian religion there, and they were quite strict, okay? They probably did not allow them to smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol. They had to pray before every meal. They had to go to church on Sunday, etc. And they had to go to confession if they were Catholic or whatever. So they were strict. And as a teenager, Joe Christmas killed his abusive foster father and escaped to Jefferson. So this is a religious couple, but still the father was abusive.
Not a good guy.
That can happen sometimes, especially if families are strict. They want to stick to the rules, so the father father probably was going a little bit too far with the rules, and he probably whipped the boy whenever he was bad, gave him physical punishment and stuff like that. So that's why we're describing him as being abusive. That means you abuse other people, either mentally or physically.
Yeah, you don't have to hit them. You can abuse someone verbally with the words that you say. So he killed his abusive foster father and then escaped to the town of Jefferson. Foster parents, you can be a foster mother or foster father, are people who take kids into their homes. Either they're orphans or maybe their parents are in prison, but they raise them. They don't adopt them. So they don't change their names, and sometimes they only stay there for a short time, and then they move on to another foster family. Some foster parents are great. Some are not so great. They're paid money to take care of these kids. And so there's a financial incentive to taking kids. But there are a lot of good foster parents. He didn't have a good foster father, though, and he ended up killing him and then left for Jefferson. Now, when he arrived in Jefferson, Joe Christmas encounters Joanna Burden. So there are too many names that are similar. We've got Birch, Bunch, and Burden.
Ooh.
Keep those straight, guys. So this is a new character, Joanna Burden. She's the daughter of abolitionists and an outcast for her progressive views on race. So if you encounter someone, you meet them, suddenly you didn't plan on it. It's a spontaneous meeting. And if you're an abolitionist, they don't really exist today, but during that time when there were problems with blacks and whites in America, the white folks that were sympathetic to the blacks, they would help them escape, especially during the Civil War. The abolitionists would hide some of the black people in the South and help them get north where there was more freedom. So she was an outcast, meaning people in the South were angry with her and they said, get out of here. I know you're white, but you're helping black people. We don't like that. And if you have progressive views, you have very forward-thinking views that a lot of people think aren't quite right. Maybe they're conservative. So she had progressive views on race, thinking we need to treat the blacks as well as we treat ourselves and each other.
We need to treat them as equals, but of course the people around her were saying, nah, we don't need to treat them as equals. We need segregation and stuff like that. So she was quite progressive for the time, and their passionate relationship often turns violent. And when Joanna threatens Joe Christmas with a pistol, he kills her. Remember, Joe Christmas had an abusive foster father, so that tends to keep on going into the next generation.
Yeah.
So they had a violent relationship. They probably were physically violent to each other. He hit her, she hit him, etc. He probably hit her more, so she eventually threatened him with a gun. He got really angry and managed to kill her in the process. Now, that's Joe Christmas. Let's talk about Joe Brown, his business partner here. Joe Brown, eager to get his hands on the reward for information about Joanna's murder, sells out his business partner, who then flees to Mottstown. This is where I'm kind of getting confused as to the story. He wants to get that reward money if he can provide this information about the murderer of Joanna. Okay, that's Joanna, the daughter of these abolitionists. So she got killed and he's got special information. So I guess he sells out his partner, blames him. I know who did it. Joe Christmas did it. So therefore he gets this reward money and then he flees to Mottstown. He leaves the town.
Yeah, if you're disloyal, you are, if you sell out somebody or sell someone out, you're disloyal to them. You do something that hurts them and helps you. So Joe Christmas goes on the run. So he's hiding. He's moving quickly from town to town and is eventually captured. Eventually means after some time has passed and things have happened. We're not really sure how much time, but eventually the police get him and he's captured. But he manages to escape, which means he's able to escape. It's not easy, but he's able to do it. He manages to escape. Maybe sometimes you have a hard assignment from your boss, but you manage to complete it. It's not easy, but you do it. So he's escaped, but then bad luck hits him and he's murdered by a racist bounty hunter. If you're a bounty hunter, you're chasing after someone who is wanted by the police for money. You get money if you capture them or kill them and bring the body back to police.
Someone has offered a reward for Joe Christmas, so this bounty hunter finds Joe Christmas and kills him and gets the bounty, gets the money there.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Byron tries to bring Joe Brown to Lena, but he attacks Byron and flees. My goodness, new things keep happening all the time. He tries to get Joe Brown together with Lena, but Byron is attacked, and then he escapes, and Byron returns to Lena, who's given birth. Okay, remember, Lena was pregnant at the time, so she's finally had the baby, and then a few days later, Lena is on the road again. Like Willie Nelson sings, she's on the road again, and this time she has Byron and her baby with her.
Oh, sounds like a happy ending. Yay.
Yeah, got somebody there indeed. So maybe it's not the original father, but hey, there's someone there to take his place. And I guess it sort of has a happy ending, although it's quite a complicated story. But again, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Phew, that was tough. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
文章的第3段提到 Joe Christmas 在抵达杰弗森郡的时候认识了 Joanna Burden， 却在一次争吵中杀害了 Joanna， 而 Joe Christmas 的生意伙伴 Joe Brown 却出卖了他。我们看到第3段的最后一句 Joe Brown, eager to get his hands on the reward for information about Joanna's murder, sells out his business partner, who then flees to Muttstown. 乔·布朗渴望获取提供乔安娜谋杀消息的赏金，出卖了他的生意伙伴，于是乔圣诞逃往了摩斯镇。本句的主要子句是 Joe Brown sells out his business partner。 中间 eager 的部分是关系代名词当阻隔省略后的分词构句。原来的关系子句是 Who is eager to get his hands on the reward 一直到 Muttstown。在这个关系子句中有一个片语 get 或 lay one's hands on something， 意思是 to manage to obtain something， 也就是设法将某物得到手的意思。例如 No matter how hard he tried, the spy couldn't get his hands on the confidential document。 不管这名间谍多么努力尝试，他都无法得到这份机密文件。文章的最后一段提到 Joe Christmas 逃亡了几天之后，最后还是被抓到。我们看到这一段的第二句 He manages to escape, only to be murdered by a racist bounty hunter。 他设法逃跑，却被一名种族歧视的赏金猎人谋杀。一完整句子后如果加逗号，再加 only to 加原形动词，是用来表示相反的结果，也就是结果却怎么样的意思。例如 Kevin practiced hard for the game every day, only to lose it。 凯文为了这场比赛每天努力练习，结果却输掉这场比赛。以上就是今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
Well, that's it, guys. That's the plot summary. We're going to talk about the author, William Faulkner, in our next program. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.